Could I ask you to take your seats for the next presentation, please? Whilst we're waiting, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Richard Moore. I run a search business across Africa from London. It's my pleasure this morning to introduce John Humphrey, singular, sorry, who is His Majesty's Trade Commissioner for Africa, who has an interesting 15-minute presentation for you, and I hand over to him now.
Good morning, everyone, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to join you here at this year's AFSIC. I recently had the honour to be appointed as His Majesty's Trade Commissioner for Africa at the UK Department for International Trade, based in South Africa. I've been lucky enough to have enjoyed a career which has spanned both public and private sectors, working not only in commercial and general management roles, but also as a senior civil servant and now as a diplomat. My experience helps me to understand your opportunities and challenges in expanding your trade and investments in Africa. At the same time, my position enables me to coordinate and mobilise the full range of British government support to help you achieve our mutual goals and objectives. My personal ambition for my time as Trade Commissioner is quite simply to enhance the quantity, quality and value of the UK's trade and investment relationships in Africa, and to build a strong support network for British businesses across the continent. I aim to see more British businesses investing in and exporting to Africa, and to see them leveraging existing and emerging UK expertise, as well as wider business and government partnerships, to be as successful as possible. This year's AFSIC focuses on many areas of interest to me and my teams. In the fintech space, for example, we're organising an event later this year in Cape Town to spark new partnerships with the key actors of this important sector, which is not just a business opportunity, but also vital as a means of promoting inclusive growth. We also have a strong interest in improvements in market conditions. For example, removing market access barriers which prevent or disincentivize businesses and investors from trading with or investing in Africa. My teams across Africa, which are on the ground in 20 markets, are focused on identifying and resolving these barriers to grow trade and investment. There are great personal and business connections between the UK and Africa. The UK-Africa Investment Summit, which was held in London in 2020, demonstrated the UK's commitment to position itself as Africa's trade and investment partner of choice. This ambition inspires and shapes me and my team's work and provides the framework that structures our operations. We're proud of the £15.4 billion worth of deals and commitments made at the 2020 summit, which showed the high level of ambition on all sides to work closely together to achieve tangible outcomes. At this summit, the UK government also convened the Africa Investors Group for the very first time, bringing together some of the most important British investors into Africa to advise us on how to maximise our strategy to grow investment and trade. We are here to work hand in glove with the investment and business communities by getting the essential input we need to inform our work and maximise our impact. The UK, as the largest investor in Africa, remains committed to lasting partnerships that will deliver more investment, jobs and growth for the benefit of people and businesses across Africa and at home in the UK. Our broader strategy is about building sustainable, enduring and productive partnerships. These partnerships are about understanding Africa's needs first, then exploring how our businesses can support them through projects that create jobs, support inclusion, sustainability, and bring lasting value to both Africa and the UK. We focus, therefore, on sectors which address some of Africa's most important needs: infrastructure, renewable energy, education, healthcare, agriculture, and natural resources. We have built expert teams able to represent and support our interests and vision for these sectors, led by directors equipped with senior-level business development experience in African markets. Through them, we can harness the insights of private sector partners, share experience of trading successfully in Africa, and perhaps most importantly, speak the same language as the business community. In all of these sectors, there is strong British private sector capability, expertise and know-how, and a growing interest to do more in Africa. We're building from a strong position. According to UNCTAD, in its most recent report from June of this year, the UK is the leading investor in Africa, with an investment stock estimated to be around $65 billion. That's more than France, the US, and China. This position reflects British businesses' long-term belief and commitment to invest in the continent. Major new investments into Africa over the last few years alone have been powerful reminders of this enduring relationship and vision. From Vodafone's very new investment in Ethiopia's telecom sector via Safaricom, to First Quantum Minerals' recent mining investments in Zambia, examples abound. There are too many investments and projects to mention them all. But let's focus on the renewable energy space, where British firms, with their wide-ranging expertise and innovation, from smart grids to solar energy, have a very strong story to tell, and are already leading the way in supporting energy transition across the continent. In Nigeria, for example, Conexa, a British startup, is pioneering a new energy service model which combines generation and distribution using technology and data to improve the energy service provided to consumers and businesses. This model could potentially be applied and scaled up across the continent in many different markets. Other British investors, such as Globalec, have also spearheaded new investments in renewables in Kenya, Egypt, Mozambique, and South Africa. And I believe Globalec are now the largest independent power producer in Africa. The UK is now one of the leading investors in renewables across the continent and is currently the largest renewables investor in South Africa. British investors have also a proud record of contributing to job creation, all the while supporting and respecting very high standards of environmental and social governance. Africa's abundant supply of rare minerals represents an important resource for the whole world. These resources play a critical role in helping the world transition towards a cleaner and more sustainable future, including e-vehicles and the latest battery technology. Our goal is to build new partnerships with African countries to maximize the potential and security of critical mineral supply to the industries of the future on which we all depend. There can be no doubt that Africa is important to all of our futures. The IMF forecasts that over the next 5 years, half of the world's 10 fastest growing economies will be on the continent. And by the end of the decade, Africa's working age population will have grown by 30% on 2020 levels. By 2085, Africa is forecast to be home to a third of the world's people. By contrast, Europe's working age population will have contracted significantly. Africa's rising populations will inevitably result in growth for goods and services of all kinds. And according to our analysis, Africa's import markets are forecast to expand more than fivefold from nearly 700 billion in 2019 to some 3.9 trillion by 2050. We aim to help British businesses be the best partners for Africa to realize these opportunities and for us to prosper together. To help achieve this and to reduce costs for consumers and businesses in Africa and the UK, we need to remove trade barriers. That is why, since the UK left the EU, we have signed no fewer than 9 trade agreements covering 18 African nations. Yet another chapter will open when Africa starts to trade with itself. Intra-regional trade is typically value-added trade, and in 2019, for example, trade between African nations made up just 15% of the continent's total trade versus the majority of trade in most other regions of the world. As such, if the UK can be the partner helping Africa on the new course, we too can grow alongside this vibrant and innovative continent. That is why we are such strong and committed supporters of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Tied up with my words. We see this exciting initiative as a real game changer and possibly the most exciting trading initiative underway globally. The envisioned trade area will connect 1.3 billion people and economies with a combined GDP of $3.4 trillion through a single set of trading rules. This could boost intra-African trade by over 50% and in itself lift an estimated 100 million people out of poverty. Last year, the UK became the first non-African country to sign an agreement with the Free Trade Area Secretariat, pledging to work together with them on a range of technical areas, including investment and trade facilitation. The work carried out by the Department for International Trade in Africa reflects and builds on other aspects of HMG's approach on the continent to embed British businesses and investment in the fabric of Africa. UK Export Finance, the world's oldest export credit agency, is strongly committed to and active across the African continent. Currently, it is providing more than $5 billion of UK export support across Africa, backing projects across a variety of sectors ranging from the new Cairo monorail to the development of hospitals in Côte d'Ivoire. The UK government's development investor, British International Investment, formerly the CDC Group, also invested close to £2.2 billion in total in African businesses during 2020 and 2021, exceeding their commitment of $2 billion in the years concerned. This is despite the unprecedented upheaval caused by the COVID pandemic. Going forward, BII intends to invest between £1.5 and £2 billion per annum between 2022 and 2026 to support the UK government's Clean Green initiative and to create productive, sustainable and inclusive economies in Africa and also in parts of Asia and the Caribbean. Investing in clean infrastructure will be central to its strategy over the next 5-year period, and at least 30% of total investments by value will go into climate finance. 2 other developments I wish to highlight are the recent launch of the Developing Countries Trading Scheme and the Growth Gateway Service. Over the summer, the DCTS replaced the Generalised Scheme of Preferences the UK inherited from the EU and introduced more generous and less bureaucratic trading rules that reduce tariffs, simplify rules of origin, and ease the requirements to access better tariff rates. It also expanded the number of countries covered by these preferential arrangements and raised the number of African countries eligible to 37. Growth Gateway is a business support service that brings together the whole UK government offer on trade, finance and investment, as well as providing specialist advice and support focused on promoting trade and investment between the UK and African businesses. The programme has recently launched an interactive online tool to explore investable green opportunities in Africa, and the tool currently has 50+ high potential areas with 15+ countries highlighted. Opportunities spanning many sectors, including clean energy and green financing. Overall, we want to take our business relationships on the continent to the next level and are convinced that this will support prosperity, stability and sustainability for people and businesses both in Africa and the UK. We at the UK Department for International Trade are here to support you, and my team stand ready to help. I wish you all a productive conference and look forward to working with you on this important mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John. Very illustrative and interesting to learn that the UK is the largest investor in Africa. I was astounded by that. I assumed it would have been one of those larger countries. It's now my pleasure to introduce a panel discussion on where is the smart money investing. This is going to be led by Najwa El-Iraqi, who runs a consultancy business across Africa called Africa Dev Consult. And I'd like to ask her to come to the stage with her panel. Hopefully they're all mic'd up and ready to rock. Thank you very much. I think the stairs around here.